Good evening. Thanks for being here. I'm Troy Charles. Here are your top stories. The entire province of Ontario is likely headed for a Christmas Eve lockdown in the face of rising COVID-19 cases and hospitalization. That's according to reports citing sources briefed on the plan. The lockdown is expected to last 28 days, but the period could be shortened to just 2 weeks here in the north, according to the report. The news has not been confirmed by the provincial government, with Premier Doug Ford expected to make the announcement official tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. Thunder Bay Mayor Bill Morrow offered his reaction to the news, saying the call may be the right one.
You know, for us in Thunder Bay, we're so close already to being red. You know, the distinction between being on the high range of the orange and the low range of the red, we're there. So I don't know how much of a difference it makes. As I've said from the beginning, you got to follow the science. I'm worried about the impact on the hospitals. I've just sent an email out as well. We'll meet tomorrow morning with the city. I've just put an email out to the senior management team, and we'll ensure we know exactly what this means for the city facilities so that we can communicate that to the community.
We will have more on the developing story on tomorrow night's News Hour. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit announced 10 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 today, reporting new daily case counts in the double digits for the fourth consecutive day. All 10 cases involve individuals in the Thunder Bay and surrounding areas. That leaves the number of active cases in the district at 103. While no new cases were reported from the ongoing outbreak at the Southbridge Roseview long-term care home, sadly, they did announce the death of a 13th resident earlier today. There are currently 27 active cases at the home, with 13 residents and 14 staff with the virus. Meanwhile, a second staff member at the Southbridge Pinewood long-term care home has tested positive for COVID-19. Friday, an outbreak was declared at the facility after a single staff member tested positive. Surveillance testing at the home is ongoing. Lastly, a COVID-19 outbreak has been declared at Matawa Education and Care Center after at least 6 people tested positive. The health unit said it's believed the infection was likely acquired in the facility. Anyone considered a close contact of someone diagnosed with COVID, along with their families, have been contacted by a public health nurse. Serious accident on Highway 11 caused an hours-long closure between Beardmore and Nipigon Sunday, with a stretch of the highway remaining closed into the night. At least 2 trucks appear to have been involved in the accident based on photos of the incident posted to social media. Ontario Provincial Police announced the closure around 1:30 p.m. following an incident near the intersection of Highway 11 and MacDiarmid Road. The Greenstone Fire Department advised it was opening washrooms near Beardmore for stranded travelers. It's undetermined when the stretch of highway may reopen. Monday, we'll see City Council come together for their final meeting of the year, and there are a handful of items on the agenda. Last week, Council approved a plan from Fire Chief Greg Hankio that would save the city $3.1 million over the next 3 years. It would see the fire service eliminate 9 jobs as firefighters retire. Council will hear a deputation from Dennis Breskison of the Thunder Bay Firefighters Association. He's asking the city to hold off on the plan because he wants a full community risk assessment to be completed first. Also, Wekadong Lodge is seeking approval for funding that would go towards their plans to increase the space at their Balmoral Street building. The lodge is seeking $108,000 under the Community Partnership Grant. Lastly, the recent call to remove the nativity scene on Red River Road now has the backing of the Satanist community of Thunder Bay. First draft of the Superior North EMS Master Plan has some North Shore mayors up in arms. The plan includes the closing of 1 northern ambulance station, as well as combining 4 others into 2. Corey Nordstrom has the details.
Scriber and Terrace Bay may soon see each of their designated ambulance bases consolidated into one site as part of Superior North EMS's first draft of their upcoming master plan.
We are very happy with the service that EMS provides us. It's not quite a full-time, but it's coverage, and it seems to suit the community pretty well. It's been that way now for quite a few years. We see it not declining the amount of service, probably increasing.
The EMS bases in Nipigon and Red Rock are also poised for a similar merger, with the station in Beardmore being eliminated altogether, due in part to low usage.
the data says what the data says, and healthcare restructuring is often difficult.
Todd McDonald, the president of Performance Concepts Consulting, presented the initial report to Thunder Bay Council and explains that Beardmore wouldn't be left without resources in case of emergency.
We are recommending a leave-behind solution in Beardmore where a deployed rapid response unit would still turn off the clock and get to patients, emergency patients, on a timely basis, stabilizing them for transport.
Leadership from both Scriber and Terrace Bay expressed their opposition to the plan, writing a letter to Thunder Bay Council, and say that no matter what the graphs show about the reworked plan, there will be instances where the current model is more effective.
The distance between the two is Highway 17, and anybody who has lived up north for a number of years knows at any given time, especially during the winter, you don't know when that highway may be closed. And it just doesn't seem feasible that we would have to wait for an ambulance to come from Terrace Bay to Scriber and then return.
The final EMS master plan will be presented at Thunder Bay Council on January 18th. Those area mayors say they will have a delegation bringing forward their concerns.
There's got to be safety, and there's got to be moral obligations made to the people of all the communities. And I trust that Mayor Morrow and their council will take that into consideration.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
Doesn't sound like a federal basic income project will be coming anytime soon. Local anti-poverty advocates have been calling on Ottawa to step in since the Ford government canceled the provincial pilot back in 2018. This fall, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce also took up the call after prompting from the Thunder Bay and Hamilton chapters. And earlier this month, Thunder Bay City Council voted to lobby the federal government to consider a national plan. But Health Minister and local MP Patty Hajdu, who served as director of the Thunder Bay Shelter House before being elected in 2015, maintains that it's the province that needs to reverse its course.
Their attention, I think, should be focused on the Ontario government. Listen, through the pandemic, 8 out of every $10 spent on pandemic response was spent by the federal government. I would just say there's a lot of work to do at the provincial level as well, and they have the tools to do that. And we'll continue to be there with these big, broad supports for businesses, for people. But at the end of the day, again, there are mechanisms in place, social safety nets, economic safety nets, that could be strengthened at the provincial level.
Which is why we have
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has also indicated that he's not considering a federal basic income project at this time. A young Thunder Bay woman who fled from Syria just over 3 years ago has been chosen to have some of her family's traditional recipes included in a national cookbook. Aya Wadi and her family opened local Syrian restaurant Royal Aleppo Foods in the midst of the pandemic. And now their recipes will be included in the United Nations Refugee Agency's free downloadable cookbook called Tastes from Home, Recipes from the Refugee Community. It highlights cuisines from around the globe, including Syria, Yemen, Somalia, and Hong Kong. Wadi and her mother were asked to share 3 dishes to publish in the 70th anniversary cookbook. She says the recipes hold a lot of meaning as they are passed down for 3 generations. Their customers have sometimes asked for them to share, and now they can.
So it really means a lot to us to get supported by the community, because as I told you before, we just want to succeed. We want to be able to try a new healthy and delicious food. We want the people know about us.
Across more than 100 pages, the downloadable cookbook shares the resilient stories of 14 refugees and their resettlement to Canada, along with recipes on how to recreate their national dishes. A group of West Fort businesses have come together with a local artist to transform the neighborhood's small business district into a winter wonderland. The tradition that started 4 years ago at the former Salisbury Grill has been embraced by 14 other businesses along the main strip of Frederica Street this year. Local artist Wendy Horner created the holiday masterpieces along shop windows, which range from holiday favorites to beautiful wintry displays. Aaron Gillingham took over the Salisbury Grill and revamped it as the Sal in 2017 and said this is one way for the West Fort community to spread Christmas cheer during the pandemic. in lieu of usual holiday
Customers
gatherings.
they love seeing, I mean, especially the kids, they love walking in and seeing the windows. They spend a good portion of the time just kind of staring at the windows. It's cool because every business has kind of adopted a different sort of vibe, a sort of different look to their windows. I've always kind of done the Abominable Snowman, and the Grinch is always a must for my windows, but we also do Whoville. But I mean, it's a creative group around here, so there's all kinds of different images to see.
Residents can stroll or drive down the West Fort Street throughout the next week to see the displays for themselves. Joined by my good friend Mike Mohorovic. Mike, the NHL has been kind of bouncing around lots of ideas, not sure if we're going to get this thing rolling, but there was a good